It is related to infrastructure, it's related to automation, right, to business processes. Problems, solutions, requests never really exist in isolation, right? So the ability to think in systems means what must happen before, what are the reasons why, right, this happens, what is the business case, right? What are the implications of what I'm doing? My colleague in sales or maybe in finance asks me to do something. What are the ramifications of what I do, right? That affects the business overall. And so from there, then you can move on to what are the expected results. Not just in terms of I want a new report, right? I want a new automation. I want a new page, right? Or I want a faster data processing, right? What are the implications? What would happen to the overall business if I do something? Because in IT, it's very common trying to solve a problem, and then you end up creating more problems, right, by addressing what one person or one team asks you to do. So the ability to think in system, not in a linear way, in a way, not using your common sense, right, but to apply a framework to your thinking, what makes a good IT professional. Notice that I didn't talk about you must be a good with maths, you must know all about software engineering, right? I don't code, right? But my career in IT is going quite well, right? And I work with developers and software engineers, some of the most brilliant, right, in their fields in the UK and abroad, and I don't code. So I don't need to be a software engineer to work well with a software engineer, right? But it's the framework of my thinking that allows me to work with them in a very effective way. So this is really the first thing. The second is that IT is really about problem solving. IT is part strategy and innovation, and part support and troubleshooting. But even when we talk about strategy and innovation, right, you are a product developer, product owner, right? You are the one who needs to come out with new features and specs, specifications for specific applications of software. You still a problem solver, right? It seems like you're very creative, and creativity works in IT because you need to come up with creative solutions. But essentially, technology exists to address the problems of people using technology at work, right? And so, in a way, whatever you new ideas for new features, right, for improvements, always come from your ability to solve problems, your ability to identify the root cause of the problem, and to come up with new innovative way to solve problems, right? In IT, nothing gets created out of the new just for the sake of creating new things. Again, even if you're responsible for creating new software and sell it, right, you're not really creating something artistically in a way. You might have an artistic mind, and use an artistic approach, thinking outside of the box, but you must solve problems. So problem solving skills. The next one is business skills, which is applied to what I said before. IT, information technology, exists to support businesses to solve. Also, people like you and me, when we don't work, we use technology, right? But we also, again, always use technology in a way that fits some kind of benefit, right? And so if we forget for a moment applications that we use for entertainment, right? Video games, for example, or communication. If you forget about those, right? Business applications, dynamics, right? Exist to solve the problems of businesses. So business skills are critical. You can be an excellent IT director and earn a six-figure salary without knowing, without being a software engineer, as long as you can understand how the business operates. You need to understand the core pillars of supply chain management, sales, operations, marketing, human resources, basic treasury, basic finance, right? You must understand the difference between revenues and expenses and balance sheet, right? Without becoming an accountant, you must know accounting skills, right? Which is really right, which is essential, right? So the next one is data, and really, before I move to the next one, data skills are critical because information technology now is no longer just about hardware. Although our hardware, it's really it's still quite important, right? Um, Information technology, IT, in terms of dynamics, really comes down to data. You don't need to be a data scientist, but you must understand the basics of how data flows, like in terms of data accuracy, things like ensure how to spot data duplicates, right, inconsistencies in a database. Things like averages, right, and sums, and how data is calculated and moved from one place to another. So data skills are essential. And the last but not least, probably one of the most important in the dynamics world, to have a consulting mindset. That is really probably, to me, the number one priority, because with a consulting mindset means I work on solutions, right? I don't take orders, right? I'm not an order taker. An order taker means, Alfredo, I have a problem. I need this, let's say, a feature in my supply chain module to do X. So, all right, I'll do it. I know exactly how to do it. I'm going to change one thing. I'm going to fix something else. I'm going to do some automation here, a bit of automation there. There we go. That's an order taker. That's the easy part of the job, right? The difficult part of the job is to have a consulting mindset. The company I'm working with at the moment call it being a trusted advisor. And I really love that because a trusted advisor doesn't take the order for you. It asks you, why do you need that? What's the benefit, right? And at the end of that conversation, you might come up with an answer that's, you know what? I understand why you're asking me to do X, Y, and Z. It's because you want this result, right? You expect the kind of benefits. You want to avoid that problem, or that you want to minimize a risk. Let me tell you, I'm going to do something else instead. And this is what most people, mainly in IT, but also in other areas of the business or the departments, don't like doing. But people shy away, right? For a number of reasons. Primarily, is because they want to be helpful and they don't want to be the guy who say no, right? So I'm not here to say no. I want to be helpful. I'm going to do what you ask me. I'm going to do it very quickly, and I'm going to make you save money, right? And I'll make you very happy, and you will be very happy with what I did. You give me lots of compliments, and I'll have a big smile on my face. Then after that, a couple of days later, someone else from another department calls, say, guys, what did you do? Something else is not working. So, oops, it was that thing that I did that. Now let me fix it so I can make also the other guy very happy, right? So if you have that consulting mindset, we say, I come to your organization, I'm here to work for you. I want to be your trusted advisor. I'm going to tell you if your ideas are wrong. I'm going to tell you. I'm here to solve your problems and to improve, right?
Yeah.
Something in your organization. And so this is
Yeah.
really all
So if I
about
can
being an IT consultant. Yeah.
that a little from all of that, going some nuggets of wisdom, pearls of wisdom. So we're looking more about a diagnostic sort of mindset, a problem-solving mindset, thinking in systems, having a method,
Yes.
and business skills to that. And yeah, being somebody who can take this sort of overarching view and be diagnostic over the whole sort of all the different systems, so that it's about the whole team and the way everything's working together for the team.
Precisely. I like the diagnosis. Yeah. So
Yeah.
trying to diagnose the problem. I like that analogy. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's come across very clearly. Thank you. So the next question really ties into quite a lot that you've already covered, which is the sort of skills and expertise that Microsoft partners expect from new consultants. So you've already sort of covered some of those, the ability to work following a methodology, for example. But could you expand on that a little?
Yes, absolutely. So we started talking about IT, right? And so what makes a good IT professional? In the dynamics world, if you want to be a consultant and you want to work for a Microsoft partner, being good at IT, being an IT professional is helpful. It's helpful, but it's not good enough. Okay, because Microsoft partners hiring consultants need an extra layer of skills, not necessarily expertise, because you can build expertise on the job, right?
Mhm.
But the skills are essential. I say the first one is that is the ability, as you said before, to work following a methodology, right? Most IT professionals who work for their organizations, right, and they are internal IT, have that kind of mindset that I explained before, right? You want to be the helper, right, or even the advisor, right? But you work for that organization, right? The organizations might have some kind of quality. Usually, they do have, right, quality assurance, quality manuals, standard operating procedures that they must follow when they operate. But typically, that does not apply to IT. It mostly applies to finance and regulatory, right? How the marketing and branding, for example, how they purchase, inventory management and compliance about supply chain management. If you work in pharma, like in food, you can imagine quality control is very strict, and people usually operate under rigid, compliance frameworks. IT, however, doesn't really follow that. It does occur sometimes, but usually I'm more free like to operate, right? I have a problem with my laptop, right? And probably my software. We fix it in a certain way, and once it's done, it's done. Microsoft partners work following a methodology that allow them to work on multiple projects at the same time. And when I work, at the moment I'm working with a Microsoft partner, right? In addition to doing training, I'm also a consultant, right? And I'm working with a large Microsoft partner, and I'm the lead consultant, lead solution architect at the moment. And I work on 4 or 5 projects at the same time. I'm not very operational because there is a team of consultants that I work with. But the methodology allows me to work in this manner, right? I can work on 5 customers at a time, clients instead of 1. A methodology also allows the organization to ensure that we do the right thing for the clients. This
Mm.
sometimes for people in IT, and I know a lot of them, feels a bit restricted, right? I'm not going to follow the methodology. I want to help my client. My client needs my help, right? And I'm the only one who can fix the problem. But if I follow the methodology, then it's going to take too long. So I'm going to cut corners and I'm going to fix it. It sounds like you are the hero, right? And you want to help. But in reality, no Microsoft partner can possibly work with you if you don't
Mm.
follow the methodology, right? Because it's very important. You're not very productive, and you might end up, breaking an implementation process compliance, which exposes your clients to risks, for example. So within the methodology, then we understand that we require the ability to work with project managers, because Microsoft partners work with project managers. The project managers really are the backbone of every project. They are more important than the senior architect, right? Because they manage a lot of people, they manage clients, they manage team, they manage budgets, timeline, quality assurance, risks. So the ability to work with project managers, and most IT professionals don't like working with a project manager, because they say, well, I'm IT, I'm an IT professional. I want my boss to be an IT professional who knows more than I do. Well, actually, if you want to be a consultant, your boss is the project manager, and you need to listen to them, because, and this is something really that Microsoft partners want. Then a couple of things: the ability to document your work. I know it's tedious. I know we like to work with applications. We want to present in the boardroom, right? We want to work on applications and build something wonderful. But documenting your work, following and compliance, writing, it's essential. Because if you don't document your work, you spend 6 months working on a client, and then you go on a holiday, and
Mm.
need to pick up from where you left, and I got nothing, right? And I need to start from scratch,
Yeah,
and it's a
you're not
nightmare.
very popular, are
Yeah,
you?
so exactly. So document work, write specs, uh, ensure that you write following with the company templates, because we don't want to spend days trying to understand what what a colleague did when I need to step in. So the ability to have people who can jump on a project and on a short notice and be immediately productive. It's the number one quality that Microsoft partners want to see from consultants. So it's not about you and how good you are and how great of a developer you are or a experienced consultant. It's not about me, my CV, and how many years of experience I have. It's about the team. When you work for a Microsoft partner, you're a part of the team. The team wins as a team. The team fails as a team. So that's really the number one quality. If you want to be an IT professional and you want to become a consultant, you need to be a team player.
Right, you couldn't be any clearer. Thank you. So I think we've sort of covered those two questions quite fully.
Yeah.
We ought to move on to the next
Sure.
question. A very nice one, actually. How to boost your earning power. So I think that will be well received. Tell us.
Well, I think so, because at the end of the day, earning and a decent salary, it's the main reason why we do what we do, right? Essentially. So boost your earning power. There are different degrees of salaries that you can earn if you work for a Microsoft partner, or if you are a Dynamics consultant, developer, solution architect, project manager, right? Support. There are different roles, but ultimately there are different degrees of salaries. The ability to earn more is of course linked in a way to your experience, right? More experience, right? You're more senior, you earn more. But it's not. You can be senior and while only having 2 or 3 years of experience, and that happened to me. I became a senior consultant essentially the same year I got my first job as a Dynamics consultant. I was hired by a Microsoft partner, and at that time I only had experience as a freelancer, and I learned Business Central Nav before that on the job. So I did one implementation with an end user, then a few years as a freelancer, learning on the job using Microsoft Learn, YouTube, right? Trial and error. And then I joined the company, and 6 months later, the manager, Ross, I still remember, of course, we're still connected on LinkedIn, although he works in a different department now. Ross said, well, Alfredo, you are a senior consultant. You're not a junior consultant, even though you only started a few months ago. And that's because you can work unsupervised. And that is the first thing and the only thing, really. So the ability to work unsupervised means that you can take care of a client. When the client becomes challenging, or the project gets challenging, or the client may be asking for something which is a bit more complicated, or maybe you make an error, or maybe a colleague of yours made a mistake, and then we need to fix it. A senior consultant who will hire more because it's senior can manage problems without the help of a supervisor. And so if you manage to do that without bothering, essentially taking directions, right, for your manager, you can earn more. In addition to that, if you can coach, right, and teach your team how to do the same, you can equip them with skills and the right attitude and mindset to saying, look, this is your project, this is what you're supposed to do, these are the 4 or 5 risks, right? And then see if you manage. You call me only if you're stuck, right? But try your best. If you have a problem, do it first. Sorry.
Yep. Your previous answers about being a trusted advisor. So it's that trust, isn't it, to work unsupervised and to know that that's something that you can
Yes, that's partially, yeah, exactly. So if you're a trusted advisor, you can advise your
Yeah,
client, right,
yeah.
without saying, okay, I'll do what I'm asked to do. But if you ask me something which is slightly, outside the scope of my work, I need to ask my boss, which is okay. If you don't know it, you ask your supervisor, you ask someone who's more senior. It's okay. You know that you can expect to earn more once you understand that you don't need to ask your supervisor, right, for things like that. But you can work with your supervisor for other things, more strategic, right? For example, so like I usually work on 3 projects at the same time. Tell me, how can I boost my productivity so they can work on 6 projects, right? And that will make you earn more. So work and supervised. Delight your clients, right? So you must exceed the client expectation, but again, not putting more hours, right? Not without taking shortcuts, avoiding, to work following the methodology. Delight your
Mm,
clients, because delighting your clients means most Microsoft partners, like most consulting firms, really work on referrals. Most of them work on referrals, which means a client goes live. They have partners like suppliers, they know people, right? Or maybe the finance manager moves to another organization, right? And you know what, if you did a great job, you will get a call from the finance manager, say, Alfredo, you know what, last year we did that business center project with CE, with CRM, and it went very well, and I just moved to another company, and I want to do the same. Can we have a conversation? Can you come for a couple of days and see if it works? That is uh, revenue with zero cost of clients acquisition. And so that is gold for a Microsoft partner, right? So the
mhm.
ability to allow your client to get referrals means that, you know what, I get clients, or I work unsupervised. And that's really will take your earnings to the next level. In addition to that, of course, earn certifications, because again, you can show to your clients saying, I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, Microsoft certified professionals. I hold 4 or 5 certifications. I comply with Microsoft, a delivery methodology. And lastly, and I'm going to close on this one, specialize on one area, in one area, because you can only be very good at doing a specific set of things, right? But learn about the others. Don't try to become an expert in everything, because it's impossible. You will waste your time. But learn enough about other applications so that you can help your clients and say, you know what, dear client, you want this features on the sales and marketing side. I am an expert in an ERP, and ERP is limited on CRM and sales and marketing. But I know that there is another application within the Microsoft ecosystem that does exactly what you need. I'm going to invite a colleague, and we will work together from another department, and we can work together. Now, you can work with your colleague who's the expert in the other software, but if you know enough about that, you can be a good team player, and you can delight your customers. And again, that is really what's going to really boost your earning by working with a Microsoft partner.
Thank you. There's a lot in there. So
Yeah,
yeah, lots of work to do.
definitely, absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's a wonderful profession. There is a lot of work to do, but it's very
Yeah.
rewarding. Yeah.
Um, so on to the final question, which is about to transition from end user to consultant.
Yes.
Could you tell us more about how that can work,
Yes.
please?
So transition from being an end user, I mean, working with Dynamics for the within the company they use it, right? So you use Dynamics at work, supply chain management, right? Sales or finance, procurement, manufacturing. And then let's say you have expertise in that particular application and you want to become a consultant, right? There are many things, of course, that you will develop, but the thing is that most of the skills and expertise that you don't have are skills and expertise that you will acquire after you got the job, right, on the job. And so, really, the one thing in my experience that will help you make that transition is mindset. End users, you can be an expert in Business Central, in finance, for example, or D365 Finance as a finance controller who used D365 Finance every day for the last 5 years. You can know all about that, right? You are a certified, qualified accountant, so you know accounting, you know the system, you're an expert. But you want to become a finance consultant, you need to change mindset, which means I think I can divide this into two parts. The first one is there is no one way to do the right thing. So if you are the finance manager of a company that uses Dynamics at work, you follow the procedures and the processes of your organization. And so you get used to working in a certain way, following certain processes and procedures, and to you, that's one way. Now, in Dynamics, but also in other applications, there isn't one way to do the right thing. There are multiple ways to doing the right thing. Sometimes it's tied to the configuration of the software. Sometimes it's tied to the localization of the software, different accounting, let's say, practices, like standards, different part of the world, different tax systems, right? Different currencies. So, business applications are designed to help clients and teams go through their working day in many multiple ways. So don't assume there is one way to do the right thing, and it's the first thing. But also something which is related to it that you might find a bit surprising. A good consultant knows that there are many ways to do the wrong thing, unfortunately, right? So while you are while you are a user, you know that there are a couple of things you can make mistakes, right? And you follow your procedures and you will not make errors, right? And if you make an error, you know exactly where you made the error, right? Because you didn't follow the processes, or you just keyed in the wrong value, or you posted the wrong with the wrong dates, right? You know exactly where you can fail, because again, there is one way to do the right thing. In a business application which is configured to follow processes that can help multiple clients across different industries, there are many ways to do the wrong thing. And so you need to have that mindset that says, well, I think that if I do X, I will end up with A. But chances are you do X, you might end up with there are multiple variables, right, that might end up affecting your work. So I know it sounds a bit abstract, and maybe we can talk about that in more details in another episode. But really, there is no one way to do the right thing. So embrace this mindset, right? It's not just about you and your work. There are hundreds of thousands of companies, sometimes in the same industry, that work in a different way, and the application can accommodate. And so you really need to change your mindset. But also, there are many ways you can make mistakes in a way that you cannot even possibly imagine, because pardon?
Don't focus on those, I said.
Well, it's important to be aware of it, right? I can talk a lot about things like small mistakes, for example. Well, I just thought that again, if you use common sense, right, you say, well, I'm not really sure about what this feature, but if I read the title of the page, it looks like if I click here, I might end up with doing that. Well, it's okay if you try it in a sandbox, but don't try it in live, because business applications are so complex and business data can be so complex that you might end up, opening, all sort of problems, because again, there are many ways in which things can go wrong.
So huge amount of trial and error, and always learning, constantly evolving, and
constantly
learning some things. But we just need to keep an eye on time, because we're pretty much out of time there.
No.
We have to rein you in at the end there, and if you can just, so we got that sort of the mindset thing, but end user to consultant, is there anything else you can just give us that's a bit more specific, transition from end user to consultant, just something a little bit more tangible,
more practical? Look, there is something very practical you can do. There is a program called RiskSkill. If you go online, you search Microsoft RiskSkill, there are organizations that work essentially with with Microsoft using this Reskill program,
Thank you.
which
I think you
is
mentioned that week. Reskill.
Reskill. Yeah, exactly. And so that is open to professionals with some kind of expertise in a business area, or maybe they have
Yeah.
expertise in other software. And if you meet the criteria, you can join a Microsoft partner. You will get trained pretty much like what we do, official Microsoft learning material. You will get the certification that I have, and you will have an opportunity to join an organization as a junior consultant. Again, junior because you just got started, but again, as I told you before, you might spend 6 months being junior, and then if the organization understands that you can take ownership of a project without being supervised, right, you can become a senior 6 months later, like what happened to me, and it's a beautiful career.
Lovely. Thank you for all of that, Alfredo. That was incredibly detailed, and as always, lots in there to listen. So thank you very much. And if you could just let us know what's going to be next week. I know we've got something about managing the team next week.
Yeah, what do we have next week? Let me double check because I'm not sure. We have, let me see, train the trainer. Is that train the trainer?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what we got. Exactly. So next week is going to be all about training. So train
Yeah.
the trainer, strategies to train your team and clients. I think I missed that in the first part because when you asked me what are the qualities of a good consultant, one of the qualities that we will discuss next week is the ability to train, because there's no point in having an expert in the team if nobody can learn from this expert, right? And also, you cannot really work effectively with a client if after spending months with you, the client doesn't understand, it doesn't learn anything, right? So the ability to train your team, your colleagues, your clients is essential, and there are specific things that you should do, and strategies, and of course mistakes that you want to avoid when you train your team and your clients. And as a trainer and consultant, I'll be very happy to talk about this topic next week.
Lovely. Thank you, Alfredo. We're looking forward to that. And we'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye.